You like your worship.
Thank you very much. All right, Madam Clerk, and welcome members of council. This is a priority council meeting, meaning that it's a special meeting that we're holding to deal with a specific issue. And so at this time, we do have an agenda in front of us, and I'll like to get started. We have all of our members present, members of our staff available as well to help us answer some questions. Council, item 1 is the approval of the agenda. Recommendation be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated June 17, 2026 as presented. Mr. Beelan, Ms. Deneen, thank you. Any questions on today's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, that carries. Is there a declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Anybody's got a declaration at this time? Seeing none, if anything comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. This is item number 3, which is a report from the Finance Department in regards to the DCRP program, which is the Development Charge Relief Program. There is a recommendation that has some options on here that we need to discuss. So I'll just read the first line just to put it on the floor. I won't ask for mover and seconder at this time. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report FIN 008-2026, Development Charge Relief Program dated June 17, 2026. So there's a couple of items on here. And so at this time, I'd like to turn it over to the Treasurer. Kelly McDonald is here to help us answer some questions. Kelly, it's quite a good report, and I know our senior manager, John Ferguson, our CIO, is here, as well as Derek, who can also help answer some questions. Ms. Treasurer, please.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I understand that there's an awful lot of information in this report. I'm hoping I've laid it out as clearly as possible, but this is coming with an extremely tight deadline, hence the reason for having to call the priority meeting. The due date application is actually 10 a.m. Friday morning. So this lays out basically what the requirements are. I did want to make it extremely clear to council that this grant does not support the actual capital project that we would be applying with. All it does is cover the percentage of development charges should you decide to follow that relief program.
Okay. Council, I hope you've reviewed this information. It is interesting, and I appreciate the fact that the province of Ontario has put together a program that they believe will bring more housing to Ontario. However, there are a lot of questions about it, so I'm going to hold my questions and I'll look to you, members, if you have any questions to the staff about this program. Okay, I'll go with Robert first. Go ahead, Robert McCarthy.
Yeah, first question. So we have to fund 10% out of township money. So is that 10% of, if we reduce them 50%, so our 10% is 10% of that 50 or 10% of the 100% DC charge? Does that make sense?
So that would be 10% of the reduction. So the province and the federal government will support up to 90% of the reduction.
Thank you. That's good clarity. Paul, you're next.
I just want to just bring our whole council up a bit more insight into it. We've had the same discussion at the county level.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important people understand. We have a real challenge for the smaller communities, which we are. The county has approved us proceeding. I say that correctly,
yep.
Worship. And I guess if you get into the weeds of it, yes, we have to hold the terms for 3 years on for them once they've, and it has to be for shovel-ready projects. The problem is what Mr. McCarthy, Councilor McCarthy just said. Where do we get the money for the residual? And as a small community, and John Ferguson and I had a bit of a discussion about this, if we do a project, say, for $20 million and we lose 10% of our DCs on that project, where's the money coming from? The size of our community, it's very difficult. The county can get away with a fair bit because they take it from all different pockets. We don't have the money to support this. So just keep that in mind. Where's the money coming from? There is discussion for other programs being presented by the province. However, at this time, we don't have anything to fall back on. The second question is, who's the beneficiary of this that we looked at, we reviewed? When we directly reduce the DCs, that basically goes directly into the pockets of the developer or a savings to the developer. And the whole idea of this program is to stimulate development. If we've got developers, we already see them sitting on their hands. I mean, I'm sure Derek has walked in here and seen how many potential development projects we got that have been sitting for 20 years. So are we going to stimulate that by doing it? What is the savings going to be for the average homeowner who comes to this community? We don't know. We can't, we can't see it. So to me, those are the two big things. Who's going to benefit? And if we give the benefit, it came right back into our community, and right away we said, oh, we're going to have 20 new homes this year because of it, we can justify it. But if we don't, where's the money coming from to bring back the costs, which our DCs are eligible for, whether it be new fire trucks, whether it be new snowplows, whatever, all these things, and we're sitting on our hands and can't do anything for it. So just more of a comment, and Kelly, I think that if my question was anything, where would we get the money for the shortfall of our DCs?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, that's an excellent question. The grant documents are very clear. It cannot come from development charges, so it has got to be either taxation or water and sewer fees.
So to clarify, that would mean that the water rates or water sewer fees that are charged to all residents who use water and sewer services here in the township could go up to pay for a shortfall of an investment so that a development can expand and activate this program. Or we go directly to taxation, which would then mean all taxpayers across the entire township would be paying for that shortfall.
That's correct.
I'm just trying to expand upon this so that we as council and any members of the public who might be watching this can appreciate the difficulty that we have in this type of decision.
Yeah. So all taxpayers would have to pay the shortfall, the 10%. On top of that, it's got to be a township-wide reduction, so it's not area-specific. If we decide to do a project in Creemore, development charges in Stayner and New Lowell are going to be cut by 50% as well. Yes, as pretty well all of our formulas are across the entire township. Yeah. So this is where this becomes a very difficult decision for council to be supportive of, at least from my point of view. And so I'm not sure how we could do this, given the size of our municipality and the reserves that we have and the ability of our residents to pay. So I'll look back to the floor again. Yes, Councillor Deneen, thank you.
More of a comment. The deputy mayor explained it perfectly. When I was at FCM, this came up quite a bit. And the smaller municipalities were in the same frame of mind as the mayor's mentioned. Yeah, they did not look upon it favorably at all. And yeah, it's just a comment, but the deputy mayor did a good job of explaining it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Other members? Mr. Walker, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You had both my questions. The only other thing I might add is you talked about who's the beneficiary. Well, I don't believe the homeowner that buys will be a beneficiary at all. I don't see anything being taken away from those prices and given to the homeowner as an incentive as a result of this. So I just can't. And again, like small municipalities, yeah, this is something that I don't think could ever win on this type of a app operation at all. So,
thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I noticed the deputy mayor had his glasses on crooked, so I'll start practicing doing that. A couple questions. Does the general public and the developers, they obviously know about this program as well, do they? Or would they?
Through your worship to Councillor Beelan, we know the developer groups do. They've already sent in letters to us. As far as the public, I'm honestly not sure. I don't know how many people keep up on this type of grant announcements. but the developers do for sure.
I don't think it's wise to use taxation or reserves to pay for this, so I'm not in favor of it. When is the deadline to decide whether you want to join this or not?
It's Friday,
This
isn't it?
Friday? Okay. I
10
missed
a.m.
that.
on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
All right. John, you were going to say something? John Ferguson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think part of the issue that the township's going to face is that the province has allocated $35 million to an existing project that we have. The province will expect municipalities that have received support to support what they're doing as well. And in this application process, it's not even certain, for example, if it's the 10% that we have to pay, and I think worst case scenario, it's about 14% on the tax rate, if I'm not mistaken. With that, it's not even known if the Department of Infrastructure Ontario would approve debt servicing, for example. If they approved the debt servicing, the immediate impact on the taxpayer would not be as severe. But in order to even see if we're approved for debt servicing, it's too short of notice to do that. If we submit the application, we may submit the application with a caveat to basically say that in order for this to be financially viable for the municipality, we'll need certain financial instruments to assist, or we will not be able to proceed. And I think it's important to submit something. They will be coming out with a second program, and they're going to want to see the idea of a trilateral approach, federal, provincial, municipal, everybody shoulder to the wheel to sort of get housing started. That's, I think, the philosophy behind this. And it's a difficult one for this municipality, because if it was an instant pay, it's not something that we could afford. It's not something I think any council would vote a 14% increase in order to support this project. But if there's other instruments that could be used, such as low-interest financing over a period of time, that would certainly decrease the impact, but it would affect other debt servicing that we may have. So a special arrangement would have to be made to support smaller municipalities. Maybe that's what they're going to come up with in the next application, but the next application, it's not definitive that it's going to happen. And I just don't want to see us hurt ourselves as being a partner of trying to move housing development forward. And I would suggest in all of this, the only piece that we have no control over is whether a house will be built or not. And this program is to suggest if they're not being built, then the developers will have to pay that money back. In the interim, the municipality will have spent money in order to meet this program. And if houses aren't built, would the municipality get their money back as well, is another question that I would have. But at the end of the day, I think we have to be careful and sincere that we are attempting to put our shoulder to the wheel to this really societal problem that we have. Everybody shares in this problem, I believe, that our complete economy is not what it should be. And for the future of young people to even be able to afford a house, we all have to come together in some way and try to help this. And I think that's the message that the levels of government are trying to communicate, federal, provincial, and to get the municipalities along board. I do agree that this program is really designed for a larger municipality. Smaller municipalities don't have the financial strength to really dive into a program directly like this asks. So I think if we submit, we should have a caveat written in our submission.
Okay, that's good advice, and we'll consider that. Appreciate that. I see Paul wants to speak again. Or John, did you have something you want to add? John Broderick? No? Okay, go to Mr. Van Staveren first.
Thank you. John, you've hit it bang on, and the mayor and I have had discussions. Our big thing is our debt servicing capacity. If we approve this and we run short in our debt servicing capacity as a council, we're euchred, and we can't, that's going to tie our hands in any other project that we do. There's a really, and I don't know if people had a chance to read the letter that Madam Clerk sent to us today from Plimpton, Wyoming.
Yep.
And that really, they did a really good job writing that letter. And it basically says it doesn't suit, it's sent to Rob Flack, it doesn't suit the small, medium, and northern communities. I mean, I've had discussions with some other councilors after we had our discussion at Simcoe County, and they said, are they going to open up the funding formula for municipalities that we can go through, you know, our provincial borrowings, Kelly? And nobody's saying no. Exactly what has been said. We want to support the province because of what they did for us. But by supporting them, it's going to put us in a vulnerable position. And right now, we are already trying to feel our way through the financials of doing this water project. We need every cent we can get. And I can tell you, I've been working with the county in regards to an agricultural building at the museum, and I've been told in a nice way, the county's building two big projects right now, one being in Bradford and one being on Rose Street. I shouldn't say Bradford, it's in Simcoe County. And one in Rose Street, these big developments, they're strapped as well. So it's not that we don't have the money, but we got to be careful. And this is something that's going to push us, possibly push us to the edge. So I don't disagree. If we could send something to say, yeah, we want to support it, but we can't financially afford it, I would think that would be our takeaway from it.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, Paul, if we did submit it and indicate that we are not confident or that we would not make a commitment to paying any additional because we don't want to reach our debt servicing capacity, that we probably would be ineligible to be accepted in the application anyway. Because if we can't agree to the terms of the grant program, then we would not be eligible and we would be removed from the list anyway. So it's a really difficult spot for a small municipality. And I'm glad you mentioned Plimpton, Wyoming. Their CIO forwarded a letter just today, and it was quite good. I just want to read one paragraph that he said, because I printed it off here. Adam Sabansky, who's the Chief Administrative Officer, he said, Council is concerned that without adjustments, the current program design may limit participation for smaller municipalities and result in inequitable distribution of funding, favoring larger urban centers with greater administrative capacity and project readiness. And that right there speaks about the program. You know, the program is very much designed. It's very obvious the way it's been laid out that the large urban municipalities, and there are many across our province, are frankly in line to take advantage of this, and good for them. But they also have that ability to carry that extra that debt capacity. And just like our own county of Simcoe, that's the largest urban, or sort of the largest municipality in Simcoe County is the county of Simcoe. And it also is having to acknowledge how close we are to our debt capacity there too. So there's a lot of moving parts in this that really favor the large municipalities that have greater capacity. I think Robert was next, and then Phyllis. Thank you. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, just the treasurer mentioned that it has to be Clearview wide, but can it be project specific? So can the DCs only be waived on if towards lower income housing only, not every housing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is it a specific project?
Through your worship to Councillor MacArthur, my understanding is it has to be township-wide. So if the council decides that a 30% reduction is appropriate, then it's 30% across the board.
Yeah, there you go. Councillor Janine.
Again, more of a comment. We had a roundtable at FCM, and from BC to Newfoundland, any little municipality that was fiscally responsible seemed to be penalized because of this.
Yes.
And that was the general consensus. And believe me, it's Canada-wide.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought I would bring up that we just received a letter from the city of Burlington, which is one of the larger municipalities, and they are looking to participate. However, similar to us, they're looking for the elimination of that 10% portion to be funded by their municipality, or that the province considered that it be funded through non-tax supported sources. So they said the Housing Accelerator Fund funding or other development charges. So even though we're smaller and rural, it seems like the larger municipalities are also feeling the crunch a bit.
Yeah, thank you. That just came in. There you go. Thank you. Well, we can all read that a little later, but thank you. Paul, you had something else?
Yeah, just, John, I throw it back at our CAO. You're starting to hear the comments. With this application, sending a letter to them explaining why, will that do anything for us to say we would like to participate, we can't afford, we need what Burlington just hit, and it's a combination of what Plimpton, Wyoming has said, because we do want to support what they've done for us. I keep in mind too, and I'll just make, we're very, very lucky to live in the community that we live. And so we have a natural advantage over people who, other communities that are isolated or are in Northern Ontario or whatever you want to call it, we're of the size. We've got life here. We got people who want to live here naturally. So, are we going to be ever penalized if we decide not to support it? If we decide to not support it with a cause and explain to them why we can't, would that keep our head above water, so to speak? It's very much a political juggle right now to say, okay, we want to help the community. Remember, going back to my original comment, is this going to help the developer or are we going to attract homeowners? And that's where I have a real problem. We've got some big developers in this community. They're controlled by economic. If there's a demand for growth, they're going to build. They got the land here ready to go. And we've been the hold back. We've got the water coming. Guess what, guys? There's a lot of communities that aren't shovel ready right now. And I understand, and I'll just clarify this, I understand that the original application said it was only for DC reductions on shovel-ready projects. Am I right when I say to that, Kelly? So how many shovel-ready projects, and I'll throw that at Derek maybe, how many shovel-ready projects do we have throughout this community that would benefit from this?
Good question, Derek.
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, do you just mean shovel-ready residential projects? Is that the one?
It is about housing, so residential, yeah.
Yeah, I could certainly look into that and see how many are available. I would say the large majority of them are sitting in draft approved stage right now, though. But in terms of registered and ready to be built, that number is pretty limited.
Yeah.
It's not a significant number.
So technically, we're not even going to get benefit because it specifies they have to be shovel-ready projects. So they can't go out all of a sudden and do this.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Derek. Paul, John wants to jump in, but I'm going to go to Kelly first. Go ahead, Kelly, and then John.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through your worship to the Deputy Mayor, I believe when they say shovel-ready, they mean the capital projects that we are proposing to do in order to boost that house build. So to throw an example out there, our project would be the Creemore Sewage Treatment Plant expansion. So that would be our capital project that we're proposing to do. We reduce the development charges, and that's where the province steps in with their 90%. We pay the 10%. The developers pay whichever portion we decide, but it's that capital project that we've got to complete that has to be shovel-ready.
Interesting. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're getting ready to do a presentation tonight to the Builders Association, and in the research of that, this trilateral approach by all three levels of government has been emphasized. And so let's say we don't apply and then houses don't get built for the next 3 or 4 years. The municipalities that apply, the efforts will be there. So if developers have projects in other areas, they'll move on those that are getting this program. That would be there. From a financial perspective, that would be a decision I could see the developers make. If we support this program, I think the province is wanting to see some effort by municipalities. It may not be the effort that they suggest, because I don't think that we would be approved totally for the debt servicing, or I don't think any council would vote to have a 14% increase in their taxes. But there may be some requirement met. So think about the future. If we get this program and homes get built, then the volume of residents and tax-paying residents will go up. It's not immediate. It's 2 years after the date that they occupy the house. But it is a future revenue stream for municipalities. the province and federal government are looking at this program as an incentive to get people to build homes. That's the key piece. So they've calculated as a 10% contribution by the municipality over this 3-year period. The question we have to ask ourselves as well, what do we do if we don't? It's not an easy situation to be in. I think we have to be prepared to do something. To the extent that we're being asked, I don't think it's within our financial capability, but I think we have to be prepared to do something. And I think it's that important. If you take a look at what's going on in this country right now, it's not good from an affordability perspective. We have concerns over major industry in our communities and the impact, and we have major concern over whether or not homes will be built quick enough for the number of people that don't have homes, and also be affordable enough. The affordable issue really rests on the developers' hands to a certain extent. They will need to pass on those savings. They will need to pass on those savings to homeowners, or people won't buy. And that's the economy that we're in. And so I think we have to do something, Council. My recommendation is we have to do something.
I agree. There is something that we need to do. I think the CAO has a valued point, Council, but I would caution because our financial situation, because of the number of projects that have been pressed to us and renewals of projects, we are, as the Deputy Mayor said a few minutes ago, we're very close. And we want to make sure that we can continue to manage that within the tax ability that we have. And I, for one, will not be supporting any 14% tax increases for our residents. That's just not going to pass my sniff test. So I don't think that we can move that direction, Mr. CAO. I would say, though, that we do need to look at other tools or opportunities in our zoning and in our, site plan design work that we could do to bring affordability into it. I've often been the critic of these very large homes on very small lots. I can take you across our community, particularly right here in Stayner, and show you some very beautiful large homes on very small lots. And yet they're not really selling. People seem to want to keep them and think they're going to flip them, but they're not the product that people want to buy because they're not affordable with the size of this house. So a smaller, more modest style build that leaves property available so people can enjoy their property is more attractive to people, and they can see the genuine value in it, and they can make that ask of a financial institution to enter into some type of a agreement to bring loan or borrow monies to make it happen. So it's a balancing act. And so there are things that I think we can do to make affordability by making changes to our zoning bylaws and to be more flexible when it comes to building styles as well. So and design of subdivisions, et cetera, that I think we can do. But I don't see how we can, back to an initial comment about how we pay for these things, put this directly on the back of a taxpayer right here in our township through the tax system that we use, when sadly the money that's being proposed goes from taxes that the province has, which is another form of taxes already. So it's always going to be tax dollars, it's just where it's coming from. And I don't see how we can participate in something like this at this time. But that doesn't mean, Mr. CAO, we would do nothing. I think that we can be creative, working with the great professional staff we have here, listening to members of the public and this council to come up with some ideas on how to really push affordability into developments that happen here. And my meetings with various developers, I always express to them that, people move here and they become part of our community. And that's the important aspect. The part of our community is that they get to enjoy the great outdoors and enjoy the space and enjoy the amenities that we have, as well as the ability to, have a fishing boat or a snowmobile or something like that. So people want to live their life as in our community. So We need to make sure that we build the product that people will find suitable in our community. Those are a lot of points that I wanted to bring up, but I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. CAO, and we have to be very cognizant to work with the province, you know, and make this community move forward with these type of things. So, John, do you have something else? Then I'll go to my councillors.
Yeah, Your Worship, just to clarify, I'm not recommending council give a 14% increase in the tax rate. That's not what I'm suggesting.
100%, thank you.
My recommendation is that maybe you look at a smaller percentage, significantly smaller percentage that we could afford to also be a part of an incentive program to move things forward, something that is certainly within our capacity to look at. At the end of the day, I think we need to write in our response to the province that we would look at having assistance with other financial instruments that could lessen the burden on our existing taxpayers or ratepayers in the community, but also to try to put our shoulder to the wheel in creating the incentives to get homes built. And let them know that we support what they're doing, but it's just simply beyond our financial capability as this program is laid out in the way it is today. Perhaps they would accept a smaller, affordable contribution from us.
Okay, thank you very much. I saw Councillor Broderick. Go to John first. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's more of a comment. This continual whittling down by the province just reminds me of the race car mindset. When you're building a race car, you're trying to make it as light as possible. You're trying to lessen the load. So you keep lightening it by removing things that you don't consider to be absolutely critical. And you do that until something breaks. And that's how you build a race car. When you're building a race car, though, you're dealing with a professional driver, you're dealing with a professional crew, and you've got people that have a really good idea of how everything works. The problem with this is this gets downloaded to the taxpayer, which goes back to exactly what you were talking about. And how do we do that?
I prefer we don't do it, but thank you. I think Paul and then Phyllis? Yeah? Is that right?
I'll play a bit the devil's advocate here, going against Doug. First question, or the first comment, remind everybody that it's a 3-year commitment on a 10-year program. So we issue a commitment. If nobody uses the program or we don't get the development, we don't pay. Okay, so they either come to play or they don't come to play, and we're not on the line. How many homes, Derek, I'll throw this, and I don't know if it's off your cuff, but how many, let's say prior to last year, which was really a down year, how many houses do we build on an average year? Not infilling, but let's call it subdivision homes.
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, thank you for the question, and I did prepare for this because I had a feeling it would come, but it's approximately 150 homes a year, on an average, I would say. And low term was about 65 to 70 homes, and then the peak was 2022, and that was 260.
Okay, so on an average DC, 30, 40,000, what do we charge, 50? Give me an average. For an average development charge on average.
I'll defer to Kelly for that answer.
Okay.
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren. So Creedmoor is approximately 60,000 and Stainer is approximately 40,000.
Sorry, let's call it $50,000 per unit, times 100 homes, 150, okay, 750,000, no, $7.5 million we're talking about in DCs. So that cost to us is about 750,000, great? How many years would it take for us to recoup that 750,000 based on taxation, just on those homes?
Through your worship to the Deputy Mayor, are you saying once they finally came on the roll?
Correct.
So I would guess 4 to 5 years between the build, coming onto the roll, We also have the issue right now where residential homes, the development charges don't need to be paid until occupancy.
Right, that's, yeah, the new program. So my question is, basically, if we were to pass a bylaw and get and talk to IO, for example, and say, we need to borrow money for 750,000 or the number of, at the end of the year, and any taxation dollars that come from our project, we would have to pay it over 5 or 6 years, recoup that money automatically. Like, I'm trying to create a way, your worship, of where can we get that money if we can go ahead with it. Now, I'll throw something else out I'm very concerned about. Because of our water project, would our developers who are funding this, would they be asking for a reduction in DCs because of it? Or could they be?
Through your worship, to Deputy Mayor Van Stavern, 100%. We'll also have to look at borrowing for whichever capital project we decide is going to promote this growth. And again, I go to Creemore because it's easy. There's a large white elephant there. The Creemore treatment plant, all in all, I believe it's around a $30 million fix in order to have kind of the growth that Creemore would be looking for. So it's not just our 10% we'd be looking to borrow. We'd have to borrow that 30 million until we could recoup it through the reduced DCs for 3 years and then regular DCs after that.
So we're technically could be, using the language, screwed by our new water project alone, because that's 75 million, and I mean, our share of it, let's call it 35 million. That's 3.5 million just on a 10% reduction if we're expecting the developers to fund that. We can't justify that, can we?
Sit on that for a moment.
Thank
We're going
you.
to go to Phyllis, and then we'll come back.
I just wanted to make a point there. We've got 3 years of that, so we're looking at 750,000 times 3, and that's going to take us more like 15 years to pay it back. That's all.
Oh, even better. John?
Yeah, I was just saying to Kelly that 30 million, if that's a DC charge, it's a 30% reduction of that, so it would be 10 million, and then our responsibility would be 10% of that. So it's around a million on that amount of money. So we really need to take a look at the numbers closely to determine what we can, and ultimately, I think we have to have a cutoff number that if we're going to throw a number in an application that may not be 10% of what we can afford, then maybe we take a look at what a percentage amount is that we could afford and put that in our application.
Mr. CAO, I would suggest that the agreements we have with our developers to put this project in place would supersede that, and they're still expected to pay it. I don't see that.
I wasn't speaking to that. I was speaking to the Creemore project.
Oh, the Creemore project, okay. Because I was thinking, Mr. Deputy Mayor was talking about the water project has put us in a corner, but I don't think so. I think that the development community that are part of that agreement are going to be held to that agreement. And I don't think that, although it's not specifically a DC charge, because they're pre-purchasing their DCs is what they're doing.
And that program is actually working out better for the developers at this point in time.
Sure
because
is, yeah.
we were able to use 73% of the total amount of money of, we thought it was originally 50%. So if it was 70 million, province paid 35 and we paid 35.
Right.
The project came in less than that. I think it came in at what, 57?
58, basically.
And so our contribution of 70, we were able to use the total 35 million from the province towards the project, which reduced the obligations of the municipality and of the developers almost in half from what the original agreement stated. So they are getting a benefit as a result of the project coming in under budget and of the percent arrangement that we had with the provincial government. So that's working out well in their regard. And as it stands right now, the 3 developers involved their total contribution is probably around 15 million. It used to be 30, but because of the decrease in costs and the ability to use all of the 35 million, it's reduced that amount. Now I'm ballparking these numbers, they're around that amount.
Absolutely, yeah,
But at the end of the day, you're right, we're in an agreement. I don't know if this new program would break that agreement.
I don't think it could.
Yeah, I don't think it would either.
No, so, okay. So, anybody else? Okay, John, back to you, Paul.
Just a quick question then. If by giving this 10% off and we're going to negotiations, let's use Creedmoor as an example, technically it's going to put the cost of the whole project up higher. So is this going to become a vicious circle where the developers come in and say, okay, our project's 40, but we got to give a $4 million, we have to now ask 4.4 or $44 million, and they'll get their little slice back of it? Because when we do these projects, it's a community, they're getting a pretty good deal to be on, at the beginning, as opposed to coming in later. Like anybody, like you just explained, Your Worship, anybody who comes in later is going to pay the full pop of the DCs. So,
I do believe, to a certain extent, the developers are going to have to pass along those savings, and there's going to have to be some sort of accountability for that. Part of what the development community is facing now as well is that because there's really not much happening, all those workers, all those builders, those trades folks that have worked for the developers, they're not busy. They're not doing anything for the most part. That's on everybody's mind as well. Because we also know, starting last year, I think over a 10-year period, that the skills trades are going to be reduced by about 700,000 people. So all of this is on the developers' minds as well. I think they want to make sure that they can guarantee work for the people that have built for them in the past. And they're going to want to build homes if they know that the market price is there. Some of the discussions that we've had include the reduction of the HST for homeowners. They need to work out how that gets managed through CRA to make sure who's paying it and how that's monitored. That's a piece that has to be worked out. But as a result of that initiative of a 13% reduction, it has stimulated development growth in several areas, about 18% in Ontario in the last little while, as a result, I believe, probably primarily of that 13% reduction in taxes. So the pressures are all over. This is not something that the developers want to see themselves in either. They want to build homes and, get their profit margins. But they don't want to lose their workers. And the longer this goes on, I think the worse it gets for everybody.
And I hope you don't mean just this meeting. Fair enough. Mr. Walker.
Don't you think that the developers need to wake up? We've said this before with regards to smaller homes. If you were to build homes that weren't as huge as what they seem to want to build, that maybe the market might be a little more active, and maybe those workers would be employed, and maybe the government needs to put in some stipulation on the amount, or on the size of homes that can be built under this plan, so that we can get housing moving forward. Like you look at the homes in Stayner, and they're huge for a small municipality, and they're sitting there empty, or they're being leased by bedroom. Build a smaller home that's 1,200, 1,300 square feet. Alter some of your plans, do some red line revisions if you can or whatever, but build smaller homes. They would move if they just wake up. But we've told them that for years on their developments, to look at smaller homes. So I think they need to wake up a wee bit and realize that large is not the best move. I know it's their profit, but guess what? You got no profit in land sitting there for years with nothing on it, and no profit in anything built that's sitting there either. So to me, smaller homes need to move forward, and they need to kind of wake up to that degree.
I think that's a point. I think the mayor has talked about that. I think you've talked about it. And part of what's happening right now is developers are submitting red line revisions and they're building smaller homes with apartments in them, but it's high density. And yes, I think a certain amount of high density can work in a community, but we have to be careful of not creating too much high density and some of the social problems that can occur and logistical problems such as snow removal and other issues that many municipalities face. But I think a combination of those efforts to reduce the cost of a home by reducing the size of a home or more strategically designed. But developers want to take advantage of as much land space as they can. And because all costs have gone up with respect to labor costs, other costs, that's why they want to get these DCs down, because the construction costs went through the roof after COVID as well. Everybody wants to see the costs get down to a livable amount of money and start developing homes that can work in a community. But I think all these things, just as you suggest, should be taking place. 30 years ago, you didn't see homes with 4 and 5 bathrooms. You see that now, right? And so the servicing capacity of a home with 4 or 5 bathrooms goes up as it relates to your water treatment plants, what you keep for reserve ratios. All these things impact cost. So yeah, I think there needs to be a wholesale change in how we approach this. Is it there yet? No, it isn't. A lot of people are still seeking, and for good reason, they want a single detached home, and they want to be like everybody else in the neighborhood. And that's the type of environment that we live in right now. But unfortunately, I think smaller homes that still meet the needs of families could work. And we can make these recommendations. We're a small municipality, we're the frontline level local government. The province and the federal government have far greater capability to make these changes than we do. But I think everybody needs to come up with a very good strategy. Right now they have a financial incentive, but there needs to be a structural change. If you can't afford what you have and you have a financial incentive to build what you have, can you still afford it? And I think we need some structural changes.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Walker. And Council, I think we can talk about this all day. I know, Marty, you've mentioned to me or you want to get going, but do you have something else you want to add there, Mr. Beelan?
Well, I sort of agree with Councillor Walker here, building smaller homes, but I remember driving through Ajax and Whitby, and they built these wartime homes. A lot of them didn't have garages. Now you see houses, there's 2, 3, 4 garages on a house. That adds to the cost. I know we were talking about our bylaws about a hard paved laneway or gravel. Maybe we can change bylaws that reduce the costs that allow for just a normal laneway without having to be hard surfaced or whatever. And I've known people, I remember playing ball and one of the guys built a house. He built just a house, that's all he could afford. Didn't have the garage, the paved driveway, etc. Those would go in later. We don't seem to be doing that anymore either. So I agree with Moose, we need smaller houses that are affordable.
Thank you very much. I think if any of you have visited me, you know I have a gravel driveway at my house and I'm in an urban center. So there you go. More, Mr. Van Stavern? Yes.
I just want to add to your summary, Your Worship. I wish our treasurer would come outright and say, we can't afford to do this. And she's been smiling the whole time. And
Kelly?
And Kelly, I'm going to throw you under the bus a bit. It's obvious by the numbers we're talking about because we got these, one ongoing and one potentially starting, we can't afford to do what they're asking us to do. And if that throws our debt servicing ratios out the window, we can't do that consciously as a council.
That's our fiduciary responsibility.
It's our fiduciary responsibility. So
Absolutely.
if we say, make, option 1 as our preferred method, and we get the wisdom of our clerk and our CAO to write a letter explaining that we can't by law even, it gives us a bit of an out. And I think both of you have outlined already our position in terms of our financial position. Physically, we want to create the development. Financially, we can't afford to do it. So sorry, I throw you at it now and see what you can make out of my words.
Okay, we won't hold it to it, but we will ask you for your comment, please.
Through your worship to the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, I'm happy to crawl under the bus to tell you the truth. We can't afford this. In order to do the capital project alone, when we add on the potential borrowing we'll have for the Stainer water service, this is now more borrowing that we just don't have the capacity for. I'd love to be able to say, you know what, let's just go ahead on our own and decrease DCs by 50% across the board. We can't afford to do that unless we want to stop growth, because we won't be able to do any of the projects we need to bring growth here. So we don't have the water capacity, we don't have the sewer capacity. We're working on water capacity here. I know Creemore is chomping at the bit to get a solution down there. We just don't have it yet. We don't have the growth behind us so that our reserves have built up enough so that we could say, you know what, we can do this right now, let's go for it. But we're not at that stage.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it. Council, the Deputy Mayor suggested option 1. Can I ask, does anybody have any oh, Madam, go ahead.
I just want to reiterate that it says, does not support, and it goes on to say, for this intake period. And that's just for this intake period. And we'll see how it goes after that. I would support
So
option
council
1.
does not support applying for the development charge relief program for this intake period, recognizing the associated financial risk and limitations identified in this report. You're comfortable with that?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Cannot support, I would rather, sorry, Worship, if we say cannot support, basically we're saying the advice, our financial advice is we can't afford it.
So you want to say it says cannot support instead of does not support?
Right.
Okay. I'd agree.
All right, well, we'll make that amendment before I even ask for a mover and seconder. Madam Clerk, you can sort that out. John Broderick, please go ahead.
I suspect the lull in building right now has a lot to do with this. The builders are expecting this. We're between a rock and a hard place. I don't see a way out of this. We can't afford to do it, not as this is laid out. That seems pretty damned obvious. And if something isn't done, then everything continues to be stalled. I'm not seeing a way out. Just.
Thank you very much. Council, we've got a motion now with it's virtually complete. I just want to confirm with the clerk that she has it as prescribed. Okay?
Do I change it to cannot?
Okay. I'm going to read the resolution. I'll look for a mover and seconder if we've completed our discussion. Fair enough? Yes, go ahead, Paul.
I just want to add to it. I want to make sure that the province gets, I won't say communication from this council or via the CAO and clerk, that as much as we want to support it, we would be willing to participate. I don't know how to say it, at a different program, but we expand our resolution. So if we send a copy of the resolution, that they understand we want to support it, but we can't, or that we financially can't afford to. You got something there, Madam Clerk?
I do. I was kind of writing as you guys were speaking. You can add an amendment to the motion that after you cannot support in applying, you can add that the CAO be directed to write a letter to the province outlining Clearview's support in building homes and associated solutions. However, the financial constraints and council's fiduciary responsibility to the municipality and taxpayer cannot allow the township to proceed forward with an application for this intake of the DCRP.
And this would be to the Minister, I think, of Municipal Affairs and Housing,
Okay.
right? Okay.
And to the.
And of course, we'll copy our NPP.
Yep.
Okay. You put that all in? How about you just read this whole thing since it's now more complicated than I have in front of me? Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. So be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report FIN 008-2026 Development Charge Relief Program dated June 17, 2026, and that Council cannot support applying to the Development Charge Relief Program for this intake period, recognizing the associated financial risks and limitations identified within this report, and that the CAO be directed to write a letter to the province outlining Clearview's support in building homes and associated solutions. However, the financial constraints and council's fiduciary responsibility to the municipality and taxpayer cannot allow the township to proceed forward with an application for this intake of the DCRP.
And that the letter be copied to the MPP. Okay. Council, who would like to move this? Councillor Denis, Councillor Broderick, thank you very much. Anybody else? Any questions? Nothing. I'll call it. All those in favor? That's a unanimous decision. Can you mark that also in the letter? Unanimous too. I appreciate that. All right, members of council. Thank you to staff. Thank you, Kelly, for being very detailed on this. And thank you, John, for all your research you've put into this as well. This is, it's part of the job, but it's also the work that needs to get done, so I appreciate it. Confirmatory bylaw, council, be it resolved that bylaw 2641, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the June 17, 2026 council meeting be presented about it first, second, third time, finally passed 17th day of June, 2026. Deputy Mayor, Mr. MacArthur, thank you. Any questions on the confirmatory? All those in favor? Confirmatory carries. All right, council, motion to adjourn. Prior to the motion to adjourn, I have one small announcement. Summer is here, folks, and so I will ask that we respect that no jackets, no ties, optional at council meetings. I happen to be wearing a jacket today. I know Mr. Broderick's always wearing a jacket. It looks sharp always, but it's an optional option for council during the summer period, okay? Everybody's good with that? Thank you very much. Enjoy your summer. Motion to adjourn, be it resolved the council meeting. It will be at 2:00 p.m. Councilor Deneen, Councilor Walker. Thank you very much. All those in favor?